Good start to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Ghost Stories on a Sunday, as nature intended. Here we are in the library. Got the fire on tonight because it's a little bit chilly. Derpy is down here by my feet. I don't know if you can see him. I'll just tilt the camera around. There he is. There he is, just there. There we go. He's in a funny mood tonight, so aren't we all? So here we are in the library, Sunday Night Ghost Stories on a Sunday, as nature intended. What are we reading? We are still reading the brilliant Ghosts and Legends of Lincolnshire and the Fen Country. Ooh, very good. Very enjoyable. What are we drinking tonight? Well, we've got a subscription beer. This one is Tilton Pour. Tilton Pour, long story short, which is one of my favorite expressions, table beer. Long story short is the universal code for pull up a seat. I'm giving you the long version. We brewed this crisp, low ABV table beer for the art of the catch up. It's light enough to keep the wit sharp and the conversation flowing as the afternoon disappears. Lean in and tell the story. We've got the time. What is it? About 3.4%? 3%. Oh, it's not even trying. Tilton Pour. Oh, artwork by Warren Curry. So that was nice artwork there by Warren Curry. These beautiful presentations, these. There it is, Tilton Pour. Who is the brewery? The brewery is brewed and canned for Tilton Pour Limited in the EU, imported to the UK by Beer 52. Store cold, drink fresh, vegan, unfiltered. No answer to that. What are we washing it down with? We are washing it down with the Western Gold Honey, kind of Tennessee style whiskey from Lidl, which I got to say, I think is Gert Lush. Finally, there he is. Look, right in front of the fire. He's soaking up the heat. So, shall we crack on mit the ghost stories? Skellingthorpe, the tale of a brave dog. You'll like this one, Derp. It's the tale of a brave dog. When Henry Stone of Skellingthorpe died in 1693, he left instructions to be buried as near to the church wall as possible, so that his faithful dog, which outlived him, could eventually be buried close to him on unconsecrated ground. Henry Stone was deeply indebted to this animal, and his tomb still stands in the churchyard. They were caught in a violent, I suppose thunder is. They were caught in a violent thunderstorm when walking in the fields one afternoon in 1690. Mr. Stone quickly took shelter under a large oak tree, but his pet immediately pulled him out into the torrential rain. The bemused man returned to his cover, and as soon as the dog had pulled him away for the third time, the tree was blown to smithereens by a huge fork of lightning, which killed a pheasant sheltering in its branches. Sorry, I'm being attacked by a moth here. He owed his life to his... Read that again before Mothra turned up. The bemused man returned to his cover, and as soon as the dog had pulled him away for the third time, the tree was blown to smithereens by a huge fork of lightning, which killed a pheasant sheltering in its branches. He owed his life to his wonderful dog and had its portrait painted to commemorate the event. The picture can be seen above the mantelpiece in the blue drawing room at Doddington Hall and shows the dog, the tree, and the pheasant. We're going to look that up right now. Skellingthorpe dog. So here we go. Skellingthorpe dog portrait. I don't think that's it. Skellingthorpe. I'll tell you what, let's look up, let's refine it. Doddington Hall, right. Doddington Hall dog portrait. And that must be it. That must be it. Oh no, we've had to go onto Twitter. Ooh, horrible. Oh, this page doesn't exist. Goodness me. Right, I think we might have to open image in new tab. Yes, here we are. Here we are. This is the portrait. So this is Spot the dog. And let's see if you can spot the dog. There it is, there in the middle. So there is the dog. There is the tree, the shattered tree, and up in the shattered tree is a pheasant looking very much alive. But there we go. No, let's add that. Let's try adding it to the screen. There's the dog, there's the tree, and there is the pheasant. So that's what we just read. Incroyable. The picture can be seen above the mantelpiece in the blue drawing room at Doddington Hall and shows the dog, the tree, and the pheasant. There. You can't argue with that. So I think it's time for a beer. So let's try some of this Tilton Pour. Long story short, slange me for everybody. I don't say what it's supposed to taste of, but that's quite. It's quite aromatic, I think is the best way of putting it. Ingredients: water, malted barley, oats, hops, yeast, allergens including gluten shown in bold. No, it doesn't say anything extra, but we are going to have a bit of the bump as well. We'll start off how we mean to carry on tonight. So, oh, lovely. Right. Soham, Joseph Hempsall's ghost. Joseph Hempsall had a farm close to the edge of Soham Mere. Before it was drained in the 17th century, it was some 1,000 acres of water and wetland, which teemed with wildlife and prosperity. It was also a place to be avoided on dark nights when it claimed many lives. Joe walked most nights across the mere to a tavern at Wycombe, and was one of the few men able to pick their way across the swamps on moonless nights. He was a true fen slodger, jumping dikes with his long leaping pole and walking around the edge of the sinister big bog with complete confidence. I think we can see how this is going to end. One night when he was over at Wycombe, a thick fog clamped down and his mates begged him not to cross the mere, but to stay the night at the inn or even take the long walk along the trackway. However, the obstinate man put on his coat and started his perilous journey in the thickest fog within memory, which lasted 3 days and nights. His lamp shone eerily as he left the warm room, and he whistled for comfort as he headed towards Big Bog. On the fourth morning, the fog cleared and the sun came out. So one of the Wycombe men set out to visit Hempsall's farm to make sure he had returned safely. Just as he was approaching the farm, he was met by Joe, looking strange and bent, who did not say a word until they reached the farmhouse door. Then he looked round with vacant, staring eyes and said in a strange voice, "Enter not, for my body lies in Big Bog." As the visitor turned to run, Joe put an icy hand on his and continued, "As I be now, so one day shall ye be. Go to the big dike and find there my body." The frightened man went to Big Bog, and sure enough, there was Joseph Hempsall's body with a terrible expression on its face, lying half in and half out of the big reed-choked dike. Half crazed with terror, he raced back to Wicken and at last was able to tell his tale. His friends set off without him to retrieve the corpse, and although they searched in what they believed to be the right place, found nothing. They assumed their friend had been playing tricks and headed back for Wicken. Joe suddenly appeared from nowhere and said in his new voice, "As I be now, so one day shall ye all be. Recover my body from the west side of Big Bog and bury it in Wicken churchyard." Then a huge black cloud came down and swallowed up the apparition. In a short time, the party came to the big dike, and true enough, there was the body with its terrible expression lying half in and half out of the water. Joseph Hempsall was taken back to Soham and buried in the churchyard there. Sorry, I fluffed that up. I was so busy trying not to yawn, I messed up that final paragraph. So, Joseph Hempsall was taken back to Soham and buried in the churchyard there. Joseph Hempsall was taken back to Soham and buried in the churchyard there. But for many years, his spirit haunted the lonely fen between Soham and Wicken, reminding people that, as I be now, so one day shall ye all be. According to legend, Hempsall will continue to haunt until his body rests in Wicken soil. Bow, 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 incroyable. What are we up to? Quarter of the hour mark. Derpy is like he's laid out there right in front of the fire. Goodness me. Anyway, slange me for everybody. Oh, lovely. Cheers. South Elkington. The Green Lady of Thorpe Hall. The Spanish Lady's Love is one of 3 ballads printed together in Percy's Relics, and gives an idea of the national spirit of the war with Spain and the good conduct of the English forces in the 16th century. The Spanish lady is believed to be Donna Leonora Oviedo, or the Green Lady, which still haunts the 16th century Thorpe Hall near Louth. One of her favourite places is around the Five Sisters sycamore tree, which has 5 trunks growing from its base and stands in the deer park. She was taken prisoner during the siege of Cadiz in 1587 and placed in the custody of John Ball, the first owner of Thorpe Hall, who was knighted for his bravery in Spain. He treated her with kindness, and she is said to have fallen in love with him and begged him to marry her and take her back to England. Not wishing to offend or embarrass the señorita, Ball made the reply that he was unable as he had no money. Donna Leonora gave him all her jewellery and £500, but he still declined, this time using the excuse that the sea crossing would exhaust a well-bred woman. Donna Leonora refused to listen to his excuses, and eventually John Ball had to confess that he was already married. The dispirited woman joined a nunnery and insisted that he accept all her treasure as a gift for his wife. He received the presents, and as he took his leave, Donna Leonora handed him a tiny portrait of herself, painted on a wooden panel in a gilt frame. She was dressed in green, playing a guitar in the company of her ladies, and told Boll to keep it forever. Oh, oh. The beer yawns. I do apologise. On his return to England, his wife graciously accepted the gifts, and the portrait was hung in the drawing room wall. Right, again. On his return to England, his wife graciously accepted the gifts, and the portrait was hung on the drawing room hall. It was not long before its ghostly double was seen walking about the house and its grounds. The apparition was dubbed the Green Lady, and there was no question of removing the picture, which remained at Thorpe Hall for a further 154 years after Sir John's death in 1606. The figure is seen on occasions about the hall and the adjacent road, and the present owners have found evidence of a hand gate in the wall at her favourite point of egress. They also say that although smoking is prohibited, sometimes around 9 o'clock at night, the smell of cigar smoke drifts through the dining room. Perhaps it is a reminder of long past dinners when the first master of Thorpe Hall and his companions enjoyed their tobacco, introduced by his commanding officer, Sir Francis Drake. Maybe he spoke of the siege of Cadiz and the passionate Spanish lady whom he unwittingly brought to England in a frame of guilt. Guilt in every sense of the phrase. See, important point this. On his return to England, his wife graciously accepted the gifts, and the portrait was hung in the and his portrait was hung, and the portrait was hung on the drawing room wall. Which is the important point I'm always making, which is people are hanged, pictures are hung. We're going to need a snack at the moment because well, that's better. Cheers, me beers. In the magnificent Rush beer glass. Let me just show you that. There we go. Magnificent Rush beer glass from viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States. So, slange me bar. Oh. Southery. Black Shuck. Black Shuck, Black Shuck. That dog don't... Anyway. Black Shuck, the legendary spectral hound, is said to haunt many parts of East Anglia, and one of his favourite places is Southery. Sometimes known as the Hateful Thing, he came to our shores as Viking mythology, being the hound of Odin, the god of war and the lord of Valhalla. When you are walking alone in the fens on dark nights, it is easy to believe in Shuck's existence under that great dark sky, with only flat fields and sudden noises for company. The emptiness makes you vulnerable to ancient superstitions. The beast is still seen on occasions, roaming about in the dark, his cyclops eye glowing red and sometimes yellow. Others say he has two eyes which change from red to yellow in sequence. He has also been seen with his head hovering over his body, and his howl usually presages death. Andrew Cochrane thinks Black Shuck followed him one late afternoon in winter during the Second World War. He was riding his AJS motorbike from Littleport to Downham Market when he noticed his fuel gauge was pointing to empty as he was passing through Southery. He knew he would not be able to fill up until he reached Downham Market and was all alone when the inevitable happened a few moments later, and he ran out of petrol. So he set off to push the machine 6 miles to home. Presently, the rhythmic sounding of boots and tyres were joined by the padding feet of a large animal trailing a heavy chain. Andrew did not dare look round, for he was certain it was Black Shuck. So he walked faster, as did his pursuer. Then he slacked his pace for a brief moment. The hateful thing copied him, and the next village was nearly 3 miles away. The man was running for his life, still pushing the AJS, when a fuel tanker came down the road destined for the American Air Base at Mildenhall. The driver was flagged down and told the frightful tale, but of course the ghost dog had disappeared. Fortunately for Cochrane, the driver was understanding and gave him a little aviation fuel, which, although not ideal, was all right for a short journey. He arrived home in one piece, and to this day is convinced that Black Shuck stalked him over 50 years ago. I think we'll share this one with the old social media. Sorry, I'm going a bit Terry Wogan there for a second. We're going to share this one with the old social media. Bear with, folks. This is the perils of trying to do Sunday night ghost stories and also trying to do social media at the same time. What are we up to? 24 minutes. I think we'll have some more wasabi snacks as well, actually. We have started the snacks early tonight, but I was just feeling very peckish and a little bit lightheaded, so strange. Stamford, the legend of the Brasenose Knocker. As the town prospered in the 12th and 13th centuries, a new university was built, and Stamford became the country's third most important medieval university after Oxford and Cambridge. Between 1333 and 1335, which is just gone 1:30, a group of dissident masters and students broke away from Oxford University and moved here following the dissolution of their alternative university at Northampton. In 1334, Oxford persuaded King Edward III to close Stamford down, and despite great local resistance, its remaining scholars and masters were finally expelled in July 1335. The breakaway group had brought the knocker from Brasenose College, Oxford, with them and attached it to the gate of the new Brasenose College, which stood on St. Paul Street, close to its junction with East Street. But the following legend has another explanation. Friar Roger Bacon, the great scholar, scientist, alchemist, and necromancer, also known as Dr. Mirabilis, for his vast skills and learning, is said to have been a fellow of the Stamford Brasenose College. During this time, he decided that the town would be magnificently protected against any enemy action if it had a wall of brass erected around its perimeter. He would gain his knowledge by first fashioning a miraculous head of brass, which would tell him how to build the fortification. Shades of the bronze head from Box of Delight. He and his friend, Friar Bungay, who was to assist him, consulted their demon mentor, who gave them the secret for making the head, which would speak briefly after 1 month. They labored hard, and eventually the work was done, and the magic artifact attached to the college gate. Should be a comma in there. He and his friend Friar Bungay, who was to assist him, consulted their demon mentor, who gave them the secret for making the head, which would speak briefly after 1 month. They labored hard, and eventually the work was done, and the magic artifact attached to the college gate. By now, Bacon and Bungay were exhausted and ordered their servant to watch over the bronze head whilst they slept and awaken them should it start speaking. Unfortunately, he grew tired from his tedious vigil, and when the head spoke, saying, "Time is," he ignored it. It spoke again, saying, "Time was," and still the servant did not awake his masters. Finally, the head shouted, "Time's past!" and fell to the ground, where it burst into tiny pieces. The noise awoke Roger Bacon, who soon realized that his dream of building the wall of brass was shattered along with the bronze head. The original door knocker, brought from Oxford in the 14th century, remained attached to the Brasenose Gate until it was removed and returned to its namesake in 1890, the original gate having been demolished in 1868. A fellow of the Oxford College presented the town with a replica gate and knocker, which can be seen on the old site, which records the secession of students of Brasenose Hall, Oxford, to Stamford between 1333 and 1335. Half-time, Derbs. Look at him, look. Sprawled out there like he owns the place. Incroyable. Now we're going to have some more wasabi mix, I think. Oh my goodness me, that mustard is so strong it goes straight up your nose. So I suddenly realised I need to open a bottle of beer, and what have I done with my beer opener? Oh, we'll go looking at it. We'll go looking for it in a minute. Anyway. Strange. I'm just going to have a quick look for my bottle opener, which I think is over there. So Oh, I don't know where that bottle opener went, but never mind. We got another one here. So, right, half time. Of time. What to report? Well, at the risk of sounding a bit grim, we're going to be a little bit grim, but so I was reminded by Facebook today that it was 3 years ago today that, quite frankly, I ended up in Southmead Hospital, where I underwent 4 surgeries for the holes, not for the holes in my head, but I underwent 4 surgeries. Now, what happened was I'd had COVID and I was ill for a while, and my energy levels went just downhill. I'd go and see the doctor and they'd say long COVID. So it'll get better. And it didn't get better. And my energy levels were getting worse and worse. And I would go walking with Reg. And it got to the stage on one walk where I could not go any farther or further. I had to stop, and Reg had to go and get his car and come and pick me up. Anyway, long story short, one weekend 3 years ago, my good friend Tara was so concerned when she'd last seen me about how out of my tree, quite frankly, I was, that she called round on a weekend, was alarmed at the state I was in, and I have no memory of this at all, phoned for an ambulance, and I was taken to Southmead. Had an MRI scan, and they said, yeah, you got a bit of grot in your head there. And I then underwent 4 operations to get rid of it. Should have been 1, but me being me, I was difficult. So Facebook reminded me this weekend of that adventure. And so this is a difficult one, but that's me on essentially almost like life support, quite frankly. I don't know who took this picture, but yeah, I've got drains and drips in me and pretty grim. Yeah, it's quite upsetting to see that picture. That was also, oh no, wrong, next one. There is my instructions, nil by mouth, because I was going in for another operation, or I'd just come out of another operation. Anyway, and that was the cause of the trouble. There is my sad poodle. Photograph is upside down, but never mind. Yeah, it was a colloid cyst. Thankfully, actually a benign cyst. Ironically, the same one Davina McCall has just been treated for. Not the same cyst. We weren't sharing it. It's not like they chopped it out and I mailed it to her. But yeah, it was a benign cyst. So 4 operations, a couple of flatline adventures, including what can best be described as out-of-body experiences, but I will put them down to the very strong painkillers and the anesthetic rather than anything spiritual. And I'm still here. So that's me outside in the garden with the lilac tree. So yeah, that was a hell of an adventure, I think is the best way of putting it. It's not something I would want to relive. And I do have friends who say, move on from it. But unfortunately, I can't move on from it because I've got daily reminders of these 2 bloody great big holes in my head and the scars. But I'm still here, still doing ghost stories, still working, still going walking with Reg, still driving my friends nuts. So thank you, NHS, and Dr. David Porter for saving my life, but also undercutting the seriousness of this. But also a big thank you to friend Tara, who, if she hadn't found me that weekend, chances are I probably would have fallen into a coma and that would have been it. We were that close. So cheers, me beard. So I got wasabi mix. It's gone down the wrong way. Oh, lovely. Oh, that's better. So what's part deux of tonight's beer? It's the chocolate stout from Aldi, which I got to say is Gertlush. So let's top this one up. Whoops, a daisy. Oh, has he overfilled it? No. Smooth and indulgent, brewed in the UK in partnership with Hall and Woodhouse, the well-known 1980s pop duo. A rich, indulgent stout featuring luxurious chocolate flavors, balanced by notes of roasted malt. Got the beer burps coming up, folks. Oh, there we go. 39 minutes and 15 seconds. 5%, although ironically, its chocolate flavor beer doesn't actually contain chocolate. Ingredients contains barley and sulfates, may also contain wheat. Does not contain chocolate. But we're topping this one up anyway, and we'll have a bit more of the Western Gold honey. So what else have we been doing today? We did a bit of gardening, which was good fun. I've got to get my spuds in the next couple of days. So I've got bags for them, and I've got a plot of land that I'm going to put some in the ground. I also need to get my carrots in, and I've got seeds for them and onions. So what we're going to do is we're going to interplant them. So in between each row of carrots, we'll put onions in, spring onions, and probably some onion bulbs. And the onions will deter carrot fly. See, old tricks. Right, we are also going to have some of the Thai chili rice snacks from Lidl. These are Gertlush, by the way. So it's a bank holiday tomorrow. Oh, yes. Delicious. I think I'll have a couple more, actually. These are lovely. What did you do on Sunday night? I tuned in to watch Sunday Night Ghost Stories, but instead I watched a confused man from Dudley stuffing his face with Thai chili rice snacks. Ideal for sharing, it says there. Right. I don't think we got any more to talk about half time. I think that's it. Swine's head. Crazy Kate. The Manoir rings at OSTF 131244410 are thought to be a Danish encampment, or possibly earlier, and are 60 yards in diameter, surrounded by a double fosse. Years ago, an old recluse named Crazy Kate, alleged to be a witch, visited these rings at night to commune with the devil. She lived alone with her 3 cats, being her familiars, and was blamed for all the considerable ills and misfortunes which struck her neighbours. They decided to keep a close watch on her movements, and for 3 successive days and nights hid in her garden, but saw nothing. On the 4th night, a brave man looked through her window, and still she could not be seen. So it was agreed that she had made a spell of invisibility and escaped. The gang broke in and discovered the 3 familiars basking in front of the fire, and a besom broom standing next to the hearth, which were all the trappings of a witch's home. They were debating their next move when Crazy Kate crept into the room, cursing the intruders, who raced for the safety of the inn. Some wanted to burn the old woman along with her house and cats, but others thought it more prudent to run her out of Swine's Head. A vote was taken and a note delivered giving her 14 days' notice to quit the district. But the messenger was cursed and ridiculed by Kate, who promised misfortune to those who had crossed her threshold. Illness and destruction struck Swine's Head, and following the death of a baby, the local preacher publicly denounced Kate and accused her of witchcraft, and said more deaths would follow and no children would be safe in their parents' arms. The congregation was fired up by his words and went back to the lonely cottage, and finding it empty, assumed she had been forewarned by the devil. They hunted in vain, and as darkness fell, set out for the fearsome Manoir rings, rumoured to be the haunt of witches and things best kept secret. Crazy Kate was standing on the top bank as the vigilantes swarmed towards her. At her point of capture, a black-cloaked stranger rode up the mound on a powerful black foam-lathered horse, whose hooves thundered and echoed around the encampment. The mysterious figure bent over, scooped Kate up in his arms, and they rode away forever. Her home was burned down that night, along with the cats, who screamed like devils in the flames of revenge. Sorry about that, Derps. Reading a story about cats being burned as you're stretched out in front of the fire. I need to blow my nose, ladies and gentlemen. Do excuse me. So we're going to have a brief timeout whilst I attend to this important task. So I'll see you very, very shortly. Cheers, me beers. That's lovely, that chocolate stout. Very nice. Tid St Giles, Hanath Hall. This village, should be a comma there, this village, which lies on the borders of Cambridgeshire and Lincolnshire, is famous for three things: the glorious Walsingham window in the parish church, and the near certainty that in the 12th century, Nicholas Breakspear, who was the only Englishman to be made Pope, was not only the curate of neighbouring Tid St Mary, but also at one time curate of Tid St Giles. He took the name Pope Adrian IV. Its next claim to fame is its haunted house. After Joseph Hanath purchased the 16th century Sparrow Hall nearly 200 years ago, he renamed it Hanath Hall. He had two loves, his wife and his horse. When Mrs. Hanath died, he placed her open coffin in the bedroom at the northern end of the gallery on the first floor, which became known as the haunted bedroom, and had meals sent up to her 3 times a day. At the end of 6 weeks, he interred her under a horse chestnut tree, which he planted in the front garden. He buried his dead horse under another horse chestnut alongside the stables, where he could easily see his window, and every day an armful of hay was placed next to the animal's grave. Strange noises have been heard from time to time in the haunted room and in many parts of the house, which has attracted members of the Society for Psychical Research to visit the hall on many occasions, sometimes accompanied by representatives of the Cambridge University Society for Research in Parapsychology. Their findings and those of other researchers are documented in Frontiers of the Unknown, The Insights of Psychical Research by Andrew Mackenzie, published by Arthur Barker. Let me read that again. Problem is, there's a full stop there, and I don't think there should be. So, their findings and those of other researchers are documented in Frontiers of the Unknown, The Insights of Psychical Research by Andrew Mackenzie, published by Arthur Barker Limited. Many apparitions have been cited, such as the one reported on the 22nd of April 1959, when the tenant's wife was sitting at the table of her sitting room and looked towards the door of her small box room, where she could see over her right shoulder. In the doorway was a small, fair-haired boy, aged between 6 and 8 years, looking round the half-open door of that empty room. Then he vanished like a ghost. 4 months later, at about the same time of day, she saw the same boy in the same place, looking round the half-open door. He appeared to be wearing a white frilly-necked smock or nightgown, and had long hair which curled at the ends. Over the ensuing years, more phenomena have been recorded at Hanath Hall, but the present tenants say that during their stay, nothing untoward has happened, which could not be. Over the ensuing years, more phenomena have been recorded at Hanath Hall, but the present tenants say that during their stay, nothing untoward has happened which could not be given a practical explanation. However, this residence, which stands in Hanath Road, has earned itself the reputation of being probably the most haunted house in this area. Got the beer burps coming up again. Oh, Goodness me, I do apologise. Slange me by. Oh, top up the beer. Oh, goodness me. Oh, goodness me. He tops up the beer. And quickly leans over to sup up the froth. I don't believe this. That was almost the entire bottle gone into that, half the bottle gone into that glass, and it's full again. Anyway, here we go. And Dead Soldier.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, Dead Soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
You know what? It's remiss of me that we didn't do it for this either. So a bit late in the day, but earlier Dead Soldier.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, Dead Soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Oh, I love that film. Wandlebury, the Magog Hills. Although outside the Fen country, these chalk hills, which are 300 foot at their highest point, look out over the fens, and on a clear day you can see Ely Cathedral, some 20 miles away. They lie southeast of Cambridge off the A1307. According to legend, they are the burial place of Gog and Magog, the last of an ancient race of giants. Mention is made in the 17th and 18th centuries of a giant carved on the hillside at Wandlebury, possibly of prehistoric origin. A giant horse is supposed to be buried nearby, and a golden chariot is hidden under Murtlow Hill. Wandlebury Ring is an Iron Age fort which stands on the highest point of the hills, which was once the stronghold of Boudica and the Iceni. Later it became a Roman encampment, and later still was ruled by a legendary warring knight rider whom nobody could defeat. All challengers were compelled to ride unaccompanied into the camp on a moonlight night and call, "Knight to knight, come forth!" And the warrior would ride out on a jet black charger to accept the challenge, which he always won. Sir Osbert, son of Hugh, did battle with the guardian of Wandlebury and knocked him to the ground. As he was leading the magnificent horse away, the fallen warrior threw his own lance like a javelin, which lodged itself in Sir Osbert's thigh. Read that again. Don't think I got his name right originally. Sir Osbert, son of Hugh, did battle with the guardian of Wandlebury and knocked him to the ground. As he was leading the magnificent horse away, the fallen warrior threw his own lance like a javelin, which lodged itself in Sir Osbert's thigh. He managed to take the horse back to Cambridge, but the animal vanished the next dawn and was never seen again. Sir Osbert had a perpetual reminder of the wounds sustained at Wandlebury, for on each anniversary of the fight, his injury broke open and bled as if it were freshly inflicted. Well, that's a bit grim. Derpy agrees with me, but no, he's too much asleep. Anyway, cheers, me beers. In the magnificent United Federation of Planet shot glass, again, courtesy of friends Kirsten and Steve in the United States. Slange me bar. Oh, got some fan mail turned up. Oh, goodness me, I can't read that out. Something about Farage is going to challenge solar farms somewhere. Why? Why would you want to challenge solar farms? They work. Oh, gravity, you had one job. Anyway, Wansford Bridge, the shepherd of Wansford Bridge. Wansford Bridge is a lost hamlet which once stood close to Mumby cum Chapel, which prior to 1896 comprised the two parishes now known as Mumby and Chapel St Leonard's. A legendary flood devastated the area as predicted by the local magician, Dr. Stephen, who was blamed for all the troubles which occurred at Wansford Bridge and its neighbours. Barnaby the shepherd always got on well with the magician, who attended his own ills and those of his animals, and he took no notice of the rumours which surrounded this strange man who walked about with a big book under his arm, muttering strange incantations. Neither did he join the large crowd which gathered to see Dr. Stephen. Oh, the beer burps again, I do apologise. Neither did he join the large crowd which gathered to see Dr. Stephen being taken to prison on a charge of magic, this time for cursing the neighbourhood and foretelling impending floods and strange heavenly signs. He took pity on the prisoner and tried to help him escape, but it was impossible. However, Barnaby was told to remember the warning which had landed him in jail, that with the rising of the moon in 13 days' time, a terrible storm would devastate the area. The magician told him to look after his sheep or they would be drowned. He added that when the clouds darkened and the moon appeared with a silver ring in the sky, Barnaby should drive his fattest sheep to the top of the tower, for disaster would come quickly to Wansford. He should stay with the sheep until the storm finished, or else he would perish. The shepherd was about to say goodbye when he heard drunken snores coming from the guard, and took the opportunity of freeing his friend from his tiny cell. With a strange laugh, Stephen disappeared and was never seen again, but his voice lingered on. Remember to watch for the signs of the tempest which will come 13 days from now. An unsuccessful search was made for the fugitive, and Barnaby was never questioned. The weather continued fine and warm, and he began to doubt the wisdom of Stephen's prophecy. Then, on the 12th day, the weather changed, and the Wansford shepherd reminded his fellows of the magician's predictions concerning the terrible storm, and suggested in vain that they take steps to save themselves and their stock. Barnaby selected his best sheep and drove them to a fold close to the church, and saw with horror the dark clouds rolling in from the west. Then the pale moon came out from behind a cloud surrounded by a broad silver ring. It was the cunning man's prophecy, and the shepherd set about his work. As the church clock struck the last note of midnight, Barnaby, who was standing at the topmost window, saw a huge tidal wave heading straight for Wansford. He seized a bell rope and, swinging backwards and forwards with its weight, told his warning until he was half dead. The rain fell in torrents, and the river burst its banks, and its water crashed over fields, trees, barns, and houses, and lashed ominously at the foot of Barnaby's refuge. The whole area was inundated with deep, swirling water, imprisoning the shepherd and his flock in the tower for 2 days and nights. with nothing to eat or drink. However, on the third day, the waters receded, and he was able to float off on a makeshift raft and get fodder for his sheep, which were lowered down from the upper window of the inn, where a few lucky people were sheltering. Scores of people and thousands of animals were drowned, but many had been saved thanks to the warning bell. Farms and homes were destroyed, and even the church was ruined, except for its tower, which had sheltered the best sheep in the hamlet and the heroic shepherd of Wansford. Bow, 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 incroyable. We've just punched through the hour mark there. Oh my goodness me. One of these stories here is massively too long to read tonight. Cheers, me beard. Slange. Welney, the legend of Gold Hill. Gold Hill is a barely visible rise close to the 100-foot river bridge and adjacent to the B1411 Welney to Littleport Road. There is a small cluster of houses on this hill, and a dirt track leads to a public footpath. An ancient trackway linking Wisbech and Littleport is thought to have passed near this spot before the fens were drained. The ghost of a female robber is believed to haunt the area, searching for her share of lost gold, alleged to be part of King John's treasure, which the history books presume was lost in the sands of the Wash when he was heading north to Newark, waging war against his barons. According to this traditional fen story, the treasure was stolen and hidden at Gold Hill, hence its name. King John had stopped off at Wisbech Castle, and a local girl kept him warm that night. The next morning he awoke to find that both she, his servant, and all his treasure was missing, and he set off empty-handed. The girl and her accomplice stole 2 horses and made their getaway down the lonely track which led to Littleport. After several miles, they were accosted by several footpads who pulled them from their horses. The couple were forced at knife point to open up their bags, and fearing for their lives, the treasure was disclosed. The bandits were impressed with their story and the loot, and invited them to join their gang. The travellers agreed, being only too pleased to get away with their lives. For a joke, the servant's livery was bundled inside 2 treasure bags and sent that day to King John, first by boat to Lynn and then by road to Nottinghamshire. It is said that the monarch was so angry when he received the packages at Newark Castle that he went mad and burst a blood vessel in his brain and died. The royal spoils were divided equally amongst the criminals, who carefully hid their shares in boxes under the floor of their hut at Gold Hill. 9 months to the night after her romp at Wisbech, the girl gave birth to a boy whom she appropriately named Prince, who grew into the finest robber in the whole of Fenland. They had to be careful how they spent their fortune, much of which remained hidden for many years. One day, a great flood drowned the robbers and washed away their hut, and the treasures remained undisturbed until the Dutch drainers came in 1650, which is about 10 minutes to 5 rather, and dug the 100-foot bank which lies in front of the old mound. Gold coins glinted on their wooden mud slows before being hastily secreted in their foreign pockets, and soon the murderous fen tigers got word of what was happening and came in search of them and the treasure, which they claim was theirs by right. With all the skill of their namesakes, they stalked their prey with all the skill of their namesakes, they stalked their prey who were ruining their environment and jumped on their backs, slicing their throats with sharp knives. They took the treasure and named the mound Gold Hill. And so it is today, close to the New Bedford River or 100-foot drain. But the ghost has not been seen within memory. We are going to skip this one because it is far too blinking long. So we're just going to mark that with an additional bookmark. But we will do I think we'll do Unmore tonight. What do you reckon, Derps? I think Unmore? Yeah, I think Derp's nodding with me. I know it's rude to eat and read ghost stories, but always get hungry. Slouch. Wiccan. Strange happenings. No, not that one. Willingham. Fuse mice. This is now a large village off the B1050, ideal for commuting to Huntingdon and Cambridge. But when it was a small, isolated community, Jabez Few, who died in the late 1920s, kept some white mice and played tricks with them. The villagers called them his imps or familiars, and one day he is said to put one in a woman's bedroom, and she could not get it out. Her landlord shut a big tomcat in the room, and a noisy fight ensued. Upon investigation, the cat was running up and down the curtains, and great big clumps of fur were lying on the floor, but the mouse could not be caught. The landlord, Mr. Dudley, was then advised to perform a spell-breaking hex, which involved boiling the clippings of a horse's hoof and the legs of a toad in a stone jar over the fire. He swore and cussed at Jabez as he prepared the mixture, and before he was finished, Fuse strode into the house, whistled up his mouse, and it came to him at once. When he died, his house stood empty for many years, and his successor was only able to get rid of the mice by standing in running water with them while they ran away forever. There you go. When he died, his house stood empty for many years, and his successor was only able to get rid of the mice by standing in running water. One more run up at that. When he died, his house stood empty for many years, and his successor was only able to get rid of the mice by standing in running water with them when they ran away forever. Just seeing if there's... Oh, goodness me, that's it. This will be the end of the book the next time we get around to doing it. So, science move on. Oh, cheers, me beers. Look at this. Look, I don't know if you can see him. I've got to get a picture of this. Oh, the beer burps. Right, that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the beer burps again. We are going downstairs to have some supper, some very late supper, just a light snack. But fingers crossed, we'll be back on Wednesday for Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra on a Wednesday. Until then, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why not? What else am I going to do on a Sunday and watch the Confused Man and Dudley drink ghost stories and read alcohol? So until the next time, as always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and please don't have nightmares. Good night.